If you are watching this right now, that means you are a subscriber to NewOrleans.Football, and we just want to give you our gratitude. You make what we do possible. Your support makes all of this work. It makes all of it go, and hopefully it gives you the best Saints coverage that you can find. That's our goal every single time we step out to do something, and hopefully we are meeting it. And if we aren't meeting it, we're doing our best to get there, and we're going to find a way. So thank you for your support. And if you aren't signed up yet, make sure you visit NewOrleans.Football/subscribe. Use the code NOF, save 20% on your first payment, and get locked in and join everybody else that supports us and gets access to all of our content. Welcome back to another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. We're coming to you from our studio on Veterans Memorial Boulevard, right next door to my guy, Matt Bowers. If you need a new car, check him out at one of his many locations. He'll get you the best prices and the best customer care. So make sure you go check out one of his dealerships today. We're going to break down the OTA, tell you everything that we saw, give you all of our coverage on it, and so much more. And we'll get to that right after this quick word from our great sponsors. The New Orleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. This Father's Day, show your dad you appreciate his unique style with a Breitling watch from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Make sure you're ready for the day. Father's Day is June 16th. And if not, maybe you just want to treat yourself. Smash that presentation, nail that deal, achieve that goal. Get yourself a Breitling watch from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, 7713 Maple Street, between Adams and Burdett, Uptown. 504-866-5433. Or visit them at friendandcompany.com. Hard Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. New Orleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show. I'm Nick Underhill here with Mike Triplett and Brandon Thomas, and it is now time for the lead presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers is the official jewelers of the New Orleans Saints, and they should be your official home for Father's Day. Go down there, get your dad a Breitling watch, get yourself one, get everybody right, and make sure everything's on time because showing your dad love is always on time. And while you're there, check out their Fleur de Lis necklace and earrings that you now see on the screen. The earrings are priced at $1,100, and the necklace is $1,350.
Lead topic, who stood out at Tuesday's OTA practice? We're going to start off with you, Nick.
I mean, let's just kind of start the conversation, I think, with Trevor Penning. And I think there was good and bad out there at the practice. I mean, there were a couple of moments that were a reminder, I guess I would put it, that there are going to be some growing pains and some process. And I think the last time we were out there and we saw him, it was kind of just like a lot of optimism. Yeah, I saw him step off sides on one. There was a play where he took down a defensive player where after he kind of lost a little bit on a rep, he ended up tackling a guy kind of and got chewed out a little bit for it. But I mean, there are some things that I think we would be unfair if we didn't mention them. Like there are moments in the running game out there where you just kind of see him like really out in space, getting to his targets, meeting his marks, and he looks really good there. On the play action plays, he looks okay. I think the drop back passing game, like there's still some iffy stuff. I think I saw him give up a pressure on one. Yeah. But he's going to need to shore that up and get better at it. But he does not look lost switching sides on the offensive line. And I think right now that's the most important thing. Gives you a base to kind of build from. I thought there were more downs today than the last time, but I still remain cautiously optimistic about the Penning progress meter and kind of where it's going.
Yeah, look, I mean, today was what he's supposed to look like. I mean, if he looked great out there, it'd be like, well, then what the hell happened the last 2 years? He obviously has a ton of work to do. And consistency is number one on that list, and balance and footwork. And even if he was still at left tackle, and certainly when he's at right tackle, he seems like he's in a good headspace, though. I talked to him for a while. The whole group talked to him. Then I went up and talked to him for a while afterward. And just kind of, he's always kind of had frank conversations about how the mental toll this has taken on him or whatever. And it sounds like he's really refreshed by these last 4 months, that reset period the Saints keep talking about. And I think the most important thing is he spent those four months working out at OL Masterminds and working out with Alex Boone up in Minnesota and being healthy and working on his craft and his diet and his weight. And then obviously meeting with this new coaching staff. He's just working towards something instead of dwelling on injury recovery or being benched. How much time in his Saints career has he spent not recovering from an injury or recovering from a benching? And so at least there's some optimism now. But yeah, of course it's going to look like a work in progress. I mean, I expect to see warts in week 4 of the regular season.
Yeah,
certainly in his 4th OTA practice.
Yeah, with Penning, I mean, his job right now is to get from point A to point B and become a real right tackle. And through that process, you're going to have to, hit some winding turns and stuff like that to get there. But as long as he gets there, that's really all that matters. But let's go on to Derek Carr. Nick, I know you had your eyes on him today. What did you see?
I thought it was a pretty good practice for Carr. He looked pretty sharp overall. I mean, checked down when he should check down, went down the field when he should go down the field. He completed every pass that I saw him throw. I mean, I thought it was a really sharp day for him. I kind of feel like he's in a better space right now. Like, it kind of feels like he's doing some leading out on the field. Like, him and DeMario are the two guys racing to the mark when they're changing drills. Like, they're kind of leading that charge, kind of being like the effort guys. I really, really like that him and DeMario are doing like joint off-field things together. It doesn't matter if it's hosting a bowling tournament or giving away turkeys on Thanksgiving or preaching at a church, which they're going to be doing. The fact that you have two guys on opposite sides doing stuff together, like, I think that kind of just sets a tone for the leadership. And it felt like there was a divide and a fracture last year. So I think that's incredibly important just to kind of have that like bridging of the gap overall. I kind of like where Carr's at right now. I think the offense kind of suits him. It looks like he's getting some of the timing down of it. I think he's in a good spot right now. I like where he's at better right now than I did a year ago.
That's by design, the DeMario stuff too. We talked to DeMario about the night of worship that they're planning together, and obviously that's something that DeMario Davis and Derek Carr very much have in common. They're two of the more outspoken guys about their faith and what that means to them in the entire league. But DeMario Davis said part of what he thinks is so special about them coming together. I mean, he even talked about, the racial overtones of that, the white quarterback and the black linebacker who can be like, this is our common bond, and I want the society to see that. But his tweet about it said, our quarterback, yes, that's right, our quarterback and myself. Like, he is well aware that Derek Carr hasn't been super embraced, and he's like taking him under as like everything DeMario endorses is good. And that's important, I think. And you're right. Derek Carr said last week when we spoke to him that last year he was the new guy, which he was fine with. He said he liked that there was so much leadership in place that he had just to become part of the team. But he said this year, I feel like now that we're all learning a new offense together, I'm going to take more of a leadership role, and that's what I've always done, and I feel comfortable doing that. So a lot of that stuff, I think you're absolutely right. Now, I thought Derek Carr was in a great space 12 months ago. I mean, he felt so comfortable with his decision, so excited about his decision to be here. But he's definitely in a better place than he was halfway through last season, no question about it.
Mario's also made, like, he's embraced Dennis Allen. I found it incredibly interesting today that he kind of called out the people who aren't there at the OTA. And, part of me agrees with that. Like, if everybody wanted this, like, culture shift and a change, like, it would be good for everyone to be here. Like, it's better for everyone to be here. Like, it might not matter that some guys aren't here ultimately, but it is obviously better for everybody to be there. Like, if everybody's there, they can work towards something. You're setting a tone. You're getting on the same page. You're working with this new staff. You're creating the new culture. All that stuff is better if everybody's there. So I think that does matter a little bit. It's not something that I think is red alarm or anything, but right. I agree with that. But that was strong. Like, and he's clearly like, this is not gonna, this isn't what we're gonna do. Like, if you're here, like, this is what it's supposed to be. And that was a strong message.
It sounds like you just wrote about it the other day. The strong voices of this coaching staff. I mean, there's a lot of not messing around to this team. I'm looking at the list of the people who missed practice. We know Alvin Kamara has been away. He did come in and meet with the coaching staff and spend time with them, a lot of time, as Clint Kubiak explained, before he went on this trip. So he hasn't completely been away. We know Marshawn Lattimore is away. Is that it, though? I mean, other guys have missed time. He said Nathan Shepard has a family reason. We're going to talk more about Tanoh Kpassagnon. Other guys with injuries. Is Alvin and Marshawn the only ones sort of voluntarily skipping that we know of right now? I'm trying to remember.
I think so. I mean, everybody else has kind of been around it at some point or another. But it seems like those are the big two, at least.
It means a lot that Taysom Hill is here. I have a story publishing right after this show about he he admitted to being rejuvenated a little bit. I'm putting that word into his mouth. He is clearly rejuvenated. He has not been around always at this time of year at OTAs. He has been here, he says, because he is like all hands on deck with this new offense. We're going to talk about him more. And that stood out to me. But I guess I'll go with a negative that stood out today. Another negative that stood out today. Spencer Rattler continued to struggle, which is not a surprise. Of course, you're going to see growing pains from a guy who just arrived 2 weeks ago and started working with veterans, exactly 7 days ago. But after he had a little bit of a down practice, he throws 2 interceptions, one in 7-on-7, one in team drills. Just a reminder that's not going to happen instantly for him.
Yeah, it was a rough day for him, and it wasn't just there were a lot of high passes, a lot of inaccurate passes. He's definitely got the wheels spinning a little bit. At some point I think it's going to probably slow down for him, and then the talent shines through. But right now he's definitely swimming a little bit, trying to get just acclimated, and there's probably an element of pressure too. Like things start to get shaky, and it probably gets a little bit, it snowballs a little bit. But I don't expect like what we see right now to kind of be what defines him. There are good moments, but the struggles are. Haener came in quicker last year. Like it's just a fact. Like he came in and
has
looked better.
Again this year.
He looked better last year at this point. But I mean, it's still super early.
On that point, because I didn't choose it for our Martin's question of the day today, because I knew we were going to talk about Spencer Rattler in this segment. We had 2 different people ask, how do Spencer Rattler's early growing pains compare to what we've seen in the past? Because we've seen, obviously, Ian Book and Garrett Grayson, who didn't turn out well. Jake Haener had a good start. I mean, we've, young quarterbacks over the years. How common is it what we're seeing with Rattler right now?
But like the element of struggle?
Just, like throwing interceptions in the second week OTAs and things like that.
Yeah, no, I think it's incredibly common. Yeah, for sure. I mean, even just like when someone's like a vet switching systems, sometimes you'll see it. But for a rookie fifth round pick,
nothing out of the ordinary. We're not looking at a guy who looks like a deer in the head. Like, we're not shocked by what we're seeing. Even that people overread. You see 12 tweets during a day, and you think that means it's been happening for months. Like, he's had a little rough patch, but
we've seen 3 practices. He looked good in the rookie one. He looked iffy in the last one. This one was a little bit worse than the last one. I obviously you want to see it be better. Like I'll be like I think today was a little bit more than I was expecting to see though. Like it was a little bit like. Oh, like, kind of all right. Like but it's nothing. I'm not jumping to a conclusion. I'm not writing sentences. Like it's just nothing, I think it's probably pretty normal for a 5th round pick to come in and kind of look that way. Obviously we're expecting a little bit more, but like 1st round picks come in and struggle right away. And then sometimes they, it takes time to figure it out. So there is a lot on his plate right now. I think, it's just kind of let him get acclimated and then see what it looks like in training camp.
Speaking of rookies who took a while to get acclimated, one of the high points of the day was a sack from Isaiah Foskey. But it was so funny. Isaiah Foskey is just one of those guys that DA will not give a free pass to. Like somebody was asked the softball question afterward about what making plays. He goes, yeah, I liked it. It was a great play. I know I want to see more consistency. It's like, I've seen some of those flashes. I want to see more from him. So he's not giving him the light bulb has gone on, but it is great to see Isaiah Foskey out there making a good play. We're going to talk more about the defensive end position later. His opportunity just increased by 1 again. And then undrafted rookies who haven't taken long at all to turn our heads. Matthew Hayball, the punter, and Charlie Smith, the kicker. We got battles on our hands?
I think probably, kicker, like Charlie Smythe looks like he has incredible talent, has an incredible leg, a lot of distance. Like he was kicking it out of the facility, I guess is how you would put it. Like,
over the bush,
He was going over the bushes every single time. Like he looks like he could hit from like 70 yards. I don't know if we'll see the consistency from him though. Like he's never kicked him in an actual real setting. Like there's just so much.
He told Brandon he kicked against a rush for the first time the other day.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah, so there
he
is.
Doesn't mean the first time in Saints camp. He means the first time since he learned to kick, which was last year.
He's got a lot to learn, a lot he's got to figure out how to do. So we'll kind of see how that goes. I kind of think Hayball is like a legit guy too. He had a couple punts that on my watch hit 5.2 seconds, which is insane. Like it was inconsistent, but there were some legitimate moonshots on that. And then he had a lot of, like, if you watch him punt, like, he can punt in a lot of different styles,
That's
which is kind of
what's
interesting.
to me, yeah.
So I think he's got a chance. I think both these could be legitimate battles, and maybe more at punter than kicker even, I think.
Yeah. And we expected that going in. I mean, they spoke with a lot of confidence on Groupie. They stuck with him through some tough times. It's going to take a lot to the investment they made in Groupie, getting past that wave of rookie whatever inconsistency. It's going to take a lot for them to want to start that over with someone new, I think. That's what interested me about Hayball. He's an Australian punter, so he's going to have some of those tricks in his bag and some of the rugby style and some of the ability to do that. But he was hitting some very traditional punts with some very nice hang time too. So he's not a one-trick guy. Anything we missed, Brandon, that you wanted to talk about?
Going back to Charlie, man, like, he's big. He's like a big guy. He's tall. He just looks powerful. And the way he was kicking the ball earlier, it showed his true power coming from, like, straight from his hips through his leg. And on top of that, he's just very excited. He's excited to be here.
Yeah.
He was talking about, like, dude, I got a locker. And I'm just like, all right, bet. Like, that's awesome, bro. Like, you got a locker. And so, like, really just talking to him, he's really excited to be here. He was talking about, like, the time difference between here and Ireland. And he just, like, tries to stay up to contact his family and everything like that. But he said, like, they're all very excited about, just his journey so far. And he's looking to, continue to keep it going. Also, going back to Rattler, the person who capitalized off his mistakes, Miller Bradford, I also got a chance to speak with him today. He's very excited, but he didn't get too high on, like, getting 2 picks and 7-on-7 and in team. He was just like, the coach said I could be better, so I'm going to just try to be better. And I'm like, all right, bro. Like,
safety is a good position to be playing right now if you're an undrafted rookie for this team too. Yeah. Opportunities at that position for sure.
Oh, kind of going back, the Kubiak offense, what stood out today about just, like, the more additions that they made since we seen last week?
It's just kind of building on it a little bit. There's still, there's motion and kind of just building on top of all that stuff. You just see a little bit more of it. A lot of handoffs to Taysom. That's something that's kind of really interesting. It just feels so much more put together. The timing of the offense just kind of, it just kind of clicks. It's a little bit more, like, predictable, just on how things are going to happen, not predictable, and, like, how it looks. Just kind of like you kind of get, like, you start to feel the rhythm of it, and just everything just kind of feels like it's happening for a reason. And then just the way they practice, like, before the team stuff, it just feels like a very, very purposeful, like. The drop back stuff, like, there's, like, a whole little section set up, like, so they aren't getting too deep, and it's just everything's just kind of laid out very deliberately. And I think that attention to detail is something that is what makes these offenses really good around the league.
Yeah, no, that's one thing that I literally, like, wrote down in my notebook today during practice. I was like, the coaching staff communicates a lot during practice, but when they aren't talking, they're just acting with a purpose. Like, everybody's on top of their stuff and they're moving where they need to move. They're getting guys in order. Like, it's just working like a fluid machine. But let's move on. We got some bad news today, from Dennis Allen during his presser. He revealed that Tanoh Kpassagnon had tore his Achilles in the offseason and will be sidelined going into the season. So, kind of like, do the Saints have enough of an option at defensive end to forward Tanoh going down?
He was their margin for error. Yeah. I mean, Tanoh reminds me a lot of kind of the conversations we were having about Andrus Peat and James Hurst this offseason, and how, the safety net has been removed now. If everything goes as well as it can be, and Chase Young is healthy, and Peyton Turner is healthy, and Isaiah Foskey takes the next step, then, maybe there wasn't even going to be a spot for Tanoh. But Tanoh was, like, playing 30 snaps a game for this defense. He was legitimately, like, their number 3 guy. And so great. If you got Gray Henderson, and Chase Young, and Cam Jordan, and Foskey, and Peyton Turner, I'm excited by the potential of that group. But they just lost a really, really valuable safety net.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. At the same time, though, like, if they can't put someone out there to play 400 snaps and find 3 sacks, like, they got, they're in big trouble. Like, if you're relying on him, like, I think you're probably in a bad spot. But I think what you said, like, it lowers your floor. It lowers your floor just a little bit more. And, that floor keeps going down at some point. It could be a problem if you don't find a way to rise it up. So they just have to hope for the best at the top. Like, I don't know if it changes my outlook on the season at all, but it does take out that kind of, like, All right, so what it actually is, like, now you're trying to find the floor and the ceiling. Like, we knew what the floor was before, and now that's gone.
Yeah, the floor now becomes the guy that they sign, the guy they sign off the street during training camp. This year's Kyle Phillips or something like that. And Tanoh deserves to be talked about in a higher light than that. I mean, he's seven NFL seasons with the Chiefs and the Saints for good reason. He's proven valuable enough to work his way into that rotation, even though he hasn't necessarily risen above that level.
This is a time for somebody to step up, man. Regardless of
exciting names in that group,
definitely. Regardless of where you were picked in the draft previously, like, this is your chance to really just step up and make a name for yourself and come in there.
Best case scenario though is that he, if he was healthy, like he's not making the team. Like, that's you kind of wanted him to be in a situation where he was expendable.
We wanted guys with higher ceilings to beat him out for sure.
Yeah. We're gonna hit a quick break. We're gonna continue our OTA coverage when we come back, and we're gonna hit our Martin's question of the day. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000.
Are you tired of renting and ready to own your dream home? Contact Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, your trusted source for home loans. Our competitive rates and flexible terms can help make your home ownership dreams a reality. If you're a first-time home buyer or looking to refinance, our experienced lenders are here to help. Our online application process allows you to apply on your schedule. It's quick, easy, and convenient. Visit us online at jeffersonfinancial.org to learn more. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Welcome back to our studio on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. It is now time for our next segment presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. Today, we also got a chance to talk to Taysom Hill, continuing our OTA coverage. He seems rejuvenated. Mike said he wasn't putting the words in his mouth, but that's how he was describing it. He seems rejuvenated with the new offense. And the new offense, from what we've been told, seems very excited to have him, just able to go. So, what did we learn today?
It's more than just what we're seeing on the field with Taysom. I mean, we see him line up at running back. We see him line up at fullback and then shift in motion to tight end. We hear this one was fascinating to me. Michael Hodges, who's in the back of the defense, yelling out, "Taysom's lining up at running back." And it's like identifying the Mike linebacker. That's like what they can do with Taysom Hill. And there's not many people like that. I mean, we talk all the time about the exposure that Clint Kubiak had to Kyle Juszczyk and Deebo Samuel and how they were used in San Francisco. But on top of all that, I mean, just the fact that Taysom Hill is here. He doesn't always come. And I talked to him a lot about that afterward. I'm like, I mean, look, was there any trepidation or curiosity over, like, will I be marginalized this offense? And he said, yeah, you do want to be wanted, right? And then he told me that Clint Kubiak actually flew to Utah to meet with him personally. I don't think he did that with everyone on the offense. And it wasn't like Taysom was like threatening to leave or demanding a trade or anything. He said he just wanted to make it clear to me that he has a real vision for me and he's going to ask me to do a lot. And he said the other thing he really respects is He said, we're going to try everything with you and then whittle it down later. And he said everything that he's had in those conversations with him has bared out so far in these 4 weeks. So I'm just really fascinated by someone that sees him. And, we've been so frustrated over the last few years. Like, why do you have something like this special and then only use it 7-8 snaps a game? Like, maybe it'll still only be 8 touches a game. There's a lot of people in this offense to get the ball to. But just the fact that all these guys who've been coaching in the league for 20 plus years are looking at him being like, what can we do with this? I'm fascinated by it.
So am I. I want to see how it kind of shakes out. And it's just so common sense feeling too. And that's the thing that's been the most frustrating about it, is that it just felt like, I feel like the whole Taysom thing, even from the beginning, like I just, the vision, the way it was talked about, just kind of how it all came together. Like I just feel like all of it could have been done better. And I even just think that just the way Taysom was viewed by NFL people, by and large, like people that talk about the league, like I feel like there was an unfairness done to him with the Steve Young comparisons and all this stuff. Like there's a very, very special football player there. And I think finally, like, things have like boiled away, and he's kind of with people that can kind of maximize it a little bit. And I just want to see what that is. But Taysom's career, I think, is going to end, and there's going to be an element where you look back on it and just think, man, that could have been like so much different. It could have been so much more. He could have been the most beloved player in the NFL, like, if it was just packaged a little bit differently. Yeah. And it was just kind of this unmet expectations, and then just a plan that just never quite felt like it was all the way put together or all the way creative enough. And I don't know if that's going to get there now, but it feels like at least the process, as you're watching it, it feels like the process makes sense. And right now, that's really all you can ask for. So I'm excited to see where it goes to.
You're so right about that. It's absolutely nuts that he's a punchline to some people. I mean, how many other players around the league could be a 10 touch a game, change of pace, speed running back? Or like Rashid Shaheed gets the ball 4 times a game and people think, I love it. What a great, innovative way to use the speedy kick returner. Taysom Hill gets used 8 times a game. Why are they getting so cute? I've never understood. I've never understood.
Nah, it's actually crazy. Like, everybody puts him up as like, oh, he's just a gadget guy, somebody that doesn't really, just like a show. He's like a show, but this man gets quality snaps. He does quality. You can't have a thoroughbred in the stables with a 7 on his back and not let him run. You gotta let him go.
You should see my text every time he has a failed run. Like, all my friends, like, I have like a million time to put an end to this, and it's just like, all right, guys, like,
text Twitter, everything. Like, and I've said it a million times. Like, why is the standard different for him? Like, like he averages 5.5 yards a carry. Latavius Murray comes out here and averages 3.7, and he's beloved because he has some good runs. I've never seen Latavius Murray run for 1 yard and have someone say, too cute. They all knew it was coming. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, don't run him into the ground, but like, let him cook. Let him do his thing. But also, today we got a chance to talk to Clancy Barone. Just don't give away everything, but what do you say about the tight end position in general and like how they're moving forward in this new offense? Yeah,
look, Clancy Barone's really interesting to me because he was new last year, so he hasn't been around forever, but he was part of the Saints' old offensive staff, and he's one of the very few holdovers on this staff because he worked with Rick Dennison and Clint Kubiak and Denver and Minnesota, and then worked with Andrew Janocko in Chicago. So he's like kind of a really interesting bridge between the two offensive coaching staffs. And I talked to him a little about Taysom, but also which I'll do more on later. About Jawan Johnson and Foster Moreau, 2 guys who obviously there is more for them to do in this offense. And he's he said their attention to detail, the way they've studied these guys, the way they have plans for them. And everything they're going to be asked to do. I mean, you could just tell that he knows he knows this is a good staff they got.
Definitely. Nick, going back to you kind of earlier, we had talked about it a little bit. Like, DA's process seems to be a little bit different. Like, kind of what did you see in DA today that kind of stood out versus before?
It looked drastically different today. I mean, I think he's just kind of overseeing everything and probably letting go of the offense a little bit more. Like, he isn't necessarily perched behind the quarterbacks like he used to be. And I think there's probably some more trust in just, okay, like, I'm going to let these guys do what they do. And I guess he's not as present on the offensive side of the field as much as he used to be. I mean, maybe that's the one thing that kind of stands out the most. We've only seen it twice, though, and that just might be that his point of focus was somewhere else on those 2 days. But it does feel like he's on the other field more often than it felt like he was last year.
Yeah, and that's one thing that stood out to me. He's looked like he's letting his lieutenants do their thing. He's not trying to micromanage or anything like that. He's observant, but letting his people, do their thing. Mm-hmm. It's now time for our Martin's question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. Today's question is, continuing with DA, what is Dennis Allen's biggest accomplishment as a head coach so far?
I think that's tough to answer, but he went from a losing record to a winning record, I mean, I think that's really kind of the answer. And I think, it's just, I guess the way it came together, like it feels a little bit different, but if you just boil that down and it's just fact versus fact, you're looking at, somebody's pro football reference page 20 years from now, and you see a 2-win improvement. A 2-win improvement's a 2-win improvement. I mean, that's a solid accomplishment. I think going out and recruiting this offensive staff is possibly a big accomplishment that hopefully leads to more accomplishments that manifest in the win column. But I mean, that's kind of hard to put a nail on that right now. But yeah, I mean, I think that he's shown improvement in each year over year as a head coach.
Yeah, look, what it boils down to first and foremost, and I don't know if the undertones of this question are what redeeming qualities does this guy have, because there's a lot of people that are down on him. Mm-hmm. The reason he was hired in the first place is because he's a fantastic defensive coach, fantastic defensive coordinator. And he deserved the opportunity, I think, to be hired. He's the one we all kind of like expected and understood why he was going to be hired, even though there were other worthy candidates. But picking any other candidate ahead of him would have been also replacing him and his entire defensive system and his entire defensive staff. You don't get to keep Dennis Allen in this defense if you hire someone else. So you can't pretend like this defense stays if he goes. Like the defense that the Saints have had, which has been great, which was probably a little better from 2017 to 2021 than it's been the last 2 years, is still one of the better units in the league. And I think in particular in his first year when they were really scuffling, the way he got his defense back at the end of the year, that streak of like the 8 or 9 games where they held opponents to less than 20 points. They finished 3-1 that first year. And then again last year, he realized his defense wasn't quite hitting on the pressure and their identity, and he got it back to that, and they won 4 of their last 5 games. So I think maybe being a head coach has taken him away from nailing it start to finish, but he has gotten that defense back to being really strong at the end of each season. And again, yeah, I mean that ending 3-1 and ending 4-1 the last 2 years is probably what kept him confidently doing the coach. But yeah, he needs to do it sooner this year. There's no doubt about it.
It's not a popular opinion, but I don't really think that there's a logical argument for not keeping him as the head coach after last season. Like he had a winning record. They finished the way they needed to finish. He earned the opportunity to come back. He went out. He got his offensive staff. Like at this point, like let's move on from that and just judge it on what the season is, because the conversation and it's dumb. Like he's here. He's gonna be here. Let's see what he does and judge him on the season, because he saved himself last year. He earned the right to be here, and he did. Like it just there's no other way to look at it. And I know everybody wants like a different answer on that, but like he earned the right to be here. Let's see what he does now. And if he fails, he fails. If he succeeds, he succeeds. But at this point, like he had a 2-win improvement. He kept the team on track last year. He earned the right to be here. Like firing him would have been surprising, like given the way they finished the season.
Coaches who go 9-7 don't get fired very often.
Not after 2 years, and when it's a 2-win improvement, they just don't. I mean, but again, like you said, got to see it sooner, got to see it faster, got to see it more consistently. And if he does all those things, everything should take care of itself.
Well, we'll definitely see what happens with DA in this new offense. I mean, I think they're going to go up. I think there's a chance that they go up once things keep on going. But for our live viewers, this is it, baby. This is what you pay for. Up-to-the-minute coverage from NewOrleans.Football. And for the people who aren't subscribed yet, what are you doing? We got another OTA next week. And if you subscribe, you catch it as it happens instead of having to wait the day. Overtime is up next. Thank you for checking out NewOrleans.Football. Catch you next time.